let's back up. Let's macro zoom for a second, okay? Do you think that, in your opinion, do you think that a Harris administration or a Trump administration would have a better approach to regulating crypto?
I'm neither for nor against, and I don't know the answer to that. I think.
Okay, that's fine.
I think generally, I think Harris is probably going to be a little more strict on it, and Trump is a little more allowed the wild, wild west.
Sure. So here's two questions I have. So the first one is, well, actually three questions. So the first one is, do you think that Donald Trump understands what crypto is?
Few people understand what crypto is that aren't in crypto, so no, not sufficient enough.
And then the second question is do you feel like Donald Trump's current crypto adventure is a massive rug pull scam?
Absolutely, I think so.
Okay. And then third, do you feel like it's possible that somebody could tell Trump, hey, people buy with Bitcoin, we need to ban it, and he might say, like, we need to come out heavily against crypto now? Like, do you think that's a possible thing?
I think he has enough lobbyists in his ear about using crypto, so I don't think he'll do that. He'll stick with it and just say it's for freedom or something like that. That's how I see him.
He'll just do whatever it takes to make him popular.
Correct.
The second the fucking wind blows, your crypto bros are out of there.
Crypto is much bigger than the United States, by the way. But I think
you remember how Trump was all pro guns until there was a bump stock issue, and then he banned it. The only president who has ever passed anti-gun legislation in like the last, I don't even know how long. The second it's unpopular, you crypto bros are.
Speaking of crypto bros, I think
he's a grifter, but there's legitimate 99% of crypto guys will be fucked. But like I said, there is a 1% that's the silent. You guys don't hear about that because they're not on the news. They're not on the front pages of anywhere because they're like legitimate grassroots movements up, and you're not going to hear about them. Those will do just fine because they're actually pegged to. When I say pegged, I don't mean pegged in, as you say. They have their liquidity tied to Bitcoin, which is I don't see Bitcoin failing at this point. All the others may, but I think Bitcoin has enough purchase internationally. Buy-in.
I'm going to move on to, and thank you guys. I hated the crypto rabbit hole, but I understand Brian Krasenstein. I don't suppose you're probably going to be here to talk good about Donald Trump, and so you might have the last word on the crypto stuff.
Yeah. So like I've been in crypto since like 2011. So I've seen it all. I obviously lean to the left. I'm voting for Harris. I dislike Trump. I think Republicans in general are definitely more pro crypto, right? At least that's how they approach it from a public perspective. Like the Democrats, like the Elizabeth Warrens, are the ones that are pushing back way more regulation, and some of that I disagree with. But at the same time, Trump's new world liberty finance, like that's not catering towards the pro Bitcoin crowd. Like a lot of the Republicans I've spoken to, who I've met at the various conferences, they aren't exactly happy about this.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that would drive me the craziest is that, like, if I was a crypto bro and I wanted to fight for the legitimacy of my cryptocurrency, and now I'm looking at Donald Trump, who is, and I haven't dug deeply into this, but my understanding is that it like all of the initial like base is reserved for basically 70% of initial investors, right? Is that true?
So it's a governance token. So basically, those who own it get to make the decisions. But what's going to happen is that this is going to turn into how they're marketing it is to basically act as a way to keep the dollar strong, but with crypto. And they're going to become a service, and 75% of the revenue that is derived from that service will go to Trump and his family. The token distribution, I don't think they get 75% of token distribution, but really that's more of a governance issue. I don't, as I was saying before, I feel that a lot of people are painting the Harris administration, the would-be Harris administration, as being anti-crypto, and that's as far from the truth as talking to people within the Harris campaign and talking to people like Mark Cuban, who is very close to Harris. I know for a fact that she's very pro-technology. She's very progressive when it comes to technology. She is a lot more intelligent when it comes to technology. She's from California, Silicon Valley. Her whole background she has a history working with people in Silicon Valley, and she she definitely knows more about how blockchain and crypto works than most people do. She has gone after, as a prosecutor, many financial criminals who actually were using crypto and the precursors of crypto, like some of these e-currencies before Bitcoin even came into existence. So I don't think she's going to be anti-Bitcoin. In fact, Biden. I know everybody says, "Oh, Biden was anti-crypto," but Bitcoin has doubled during his administration. We've gone through an entire bear market and a new all-time high during his administration. So I think if Trump wins, crypto will likely spike immediately. If Harris wins, it will probably dip immediately. But in the long run, I would think that ultimately Bitcoin is going to succeed either way. And I would say that Trump's uh, investment in his own World Liberty Finance is probably a bad thing because he's going to do whatever it takes to make money himself rather than what's best for society and crypto in general, whether you agree with the whole philosophy of crypto or not.
Okay, thank you for that, Brian. Let that be the last word on crypto just for a little bit. I'm glad that we were able to sort of put a pin on that, but thanks everyone who engaged in the crypto conversation. But I want to recenter us, and I think Stephen does as well, to talk about this election and specifically about domestic policies that we think would make a difference, or where, we I guess Brian was saying there, he doesn't really see a reason why crypto investors should prefer Trump over Harris in the long term. What is a policy difference that would make one domestically support Trump over Kamala Harris, or be the difference maker? I have Eladio Santiago. I think that's right. Give us your thoughts. Why do you prefer Trump?
All right. First of all, let me say something about Brian Kranzenstein and his brother. I have tremendous respect for them. They're honest and they have their views. They're obviously opposite of mine. But this is what makes X such a great place to exchange. And I truly mean this. I have tremendous respect for them. The fact is that crypto was invented during the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis, in order to be a counter to the 1913 regulatory creation of the Fed. By the way, in 1913, the other thing that was created was the tax code. We only had a tax code before that during the Civil War in order to fund the war. But in 1913, the IRS tax code, the federal taxation of our country, was created. And at that time, the highest marginal tax rate for the rich was 6%. The fact is, I only have to name two names, Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren. And Elizabeth Warren comes from the side of the political spectrum, the progressive side, to me, as a born in Miami from a descendant Cuban American. I always think of overregulation as a way to prevent business, and that sometimes it becomes a slippery slope. And we all know that Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler have not been pro-crypto, except for creating this CDSC. I forgot what the name of what the actual the currency where you create a digital coin that's tied to the currency of the country that you're in.
Can we try to get it to the election, though? I mean, I assume that you're supporting Donald Trump, and so could you talk a little bit about the election and who you prefer and why?
Well, look. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that free speech is the cornerstone of our democracy. My parents left communism, and the first thing that communist or fascist, though there are not as many fascists as there used to be, I think the only places where there is fascism is in parts of Africa and in certain countries in Asia where they've had coups. And the fact is that free speech is the antidote to all tyranny. And then
can you give me just real quick? So wait, if free speech is the major concern that you have, when Donald Trump makes statements like the press is the enemy of the people, do these
absolutely they are the enemy of the people because they all censor on both sides.
If you think the press is the enemy of the people, when you say free speech, what are you talking about?
All right, that's a great question. And here's it's simple. Both sides censor the inconvenient narrative or news that they have on either side. If you listen to Fox News or Newsmax or One American News Network, you're going to get the side that makes the right look better.
Well, hold on. I'm not talking about like individual. I'm just saying from an administrative point of view. What did Biden's administration do to like censor free speech?
Thank you for saying that. Twitter files. We had two former Democrats by the name of Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi from the Rolling Stones. They were both voted for Biden.
Yep. So, I don't need the background. So on the Twitter files, so I read these. What part of that behavior was censorship to you?
That's a great question again. Who is this that I'm speaking to?
This is Destiny.
Somebody who's probably going to disagree with every single thing you're about to say. So
wow, that's great.
We know about the Twitter files.
I want to follow you because I respect what your question. Your line of questioning is very valid and logical.
We're trying to get to the point. Like, what in the
Twitter files? Yeah, what in the Twitter files do you feel like was censorship?
Here are the answers. During COVID, and during the Hunter Biden laptop situation, what happened is that the government told Mark Zuckerberg and, in this case, Ken Dorsey, who was in charge of Twitter before Elon Musk bought it, to censor certain sides of the argument because they knew better. And now
real quick. So for the Twitter files, right? There, we saw those emails. We saw their deliberations. There was never an explicit demand from anybody to say you have to censor this, right?
Really? So when Anthony Blinken had his chain letter with the 51 people from the military, from the intel, a month before it was the last debate.
Wait, real quick. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So if they were telling them to censor it, the letter that you're describing wouldn't exist. They would have just told them, hey, censor it. There would be no reason to release a letter like that publicly, right?
No, that was a PR campaign to convince the voters to vote for
Trump. Why would they have to do a PR campaign for anything, though? Why wouldn't they just secretly tell them?
Because the voters, the useful fools, will listen to what they think is an authoritative, group of people who led our intel services. I mean,
they have a right to free speech too, right? They have a right to free speech. You agree?
That is not free speech because
it's not free speech for these people. These are former intel officials, right?
It is not.
They're former, right? They're
not free speech to lie when you. It is not free speech to lie. It is not free speech to lie in front of a nation in a debate where it is. It turned out to be the complete opposite. The conspiratorial narrative turned out to be the truth, and now we have two convictions against Hunter Biden. Am I wrong about that?
Wait, real quick. Yeah, the Hunter Biden stuff has literally nothing to do with anything. Okay, but just
it has everything to do with it because
on the Twitter stuff. Okay, there was none of the Twitter people said, and when you were reading their deliberations about like the laptop story, for instance, there was nothing in there about them saying we have to do this or the FBI is going to come down on us or the government's going to like come down on us. So we feel a lot of pressure, right?
Look,
Twitter wait. Twitter was deliberately like in their own communications trying to figure out what the right thing to do with the story was, right? And it was legitimately it was a hard question. Do you acknowledge that, or do you think that this is a super easy thing?
That's a disingenuous statement on your part.
What's a disingenuous statement?
By presumption, if you have the former CIA director, John Brennan, the former head of intelligence, Clapper, they do get, and Adam Schiff, who had the evidence to prove that Trump wasn't just an unhinged person. I'll give you that he was unhinged, and he has a different mentality about the world.
Go back. I don't care about this. Go back. I'm just saying
Russia.
No, go back. I'm just saying that when the Twitter files leaked and we saw their internal communications, none of that was a reference to anything in the government. It seemed like they legitimately didn't know what to do with that New York Post story. And can you acknowledge that legitimately it's probably a tough call to make?
Okay, give me a second.
Yeah, I just want to say,
because I'm running out.
and
I want
I-
to. You make a great
take your
point.
time,
I'm
take your
running
time.
out of battery, and I'm going to lose you
Okay.
if I don't get a cord. Have someone else
Take
speak,
your
and I'll
time.
come back in.
Yeah, we will, and we have Matt here who's waiting. So, well, I'll get to Matt in a second. I just want to put out there a couple of facts. Fact number one: Matt Taibbi in the Twitter files, in the very first Twitter file, says there is no evidence of government involvement in the censorship of the laptop story. Number two, the laptop story was censored and then uncensored prior to the 51 former Intel officials releasing their letter. That's just a matter of record. And so it can't be the case that this open letter, which was published after the decision was made, is influencing the letter. That's how linear time works. And so on all accounts, your own people that you're citing, Matt Taibbi himself says there is no evidence of government efforts involvement in the censorship of the laptop story. So you're wrong, sir.
I am not wrong about this. The fact is, the Mueller investigation was a farce. $25 million was spent on a false.
We're not talking about Mueller. We're not talking about Mueller.
No, it's the same thing.
We're not talking about Mueller, sir.
Wait, hold on, wait. When you jump around on topics, it makes it sound like you're not able to ground the one topic. So just very specifically.
All right, I'm going to ground the wrong topic.
Wait. Just very specifically on the Twitter thing. Do you acknowledge that in the email leaks, at the very least, there was no explicit or direct pressure ever mentioned about the government, right? Do you
I completely disagree. That's why I went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they then eventually ruled 5-4.
Okay, hold on. Wait. For the Twitter files, then, what part of their communications did they ever reference the government?
All right, here's the simple one. They took people out like Alex Berenson, okay, and Mercury. What's his name? Mark.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Wait. Can you repeat the question I just asked you?
Okay, here's the beauty.
Wait,
because
are you human? Wait, am I speaking to an AI? Wait, are you real?
I am real.
What is the weather? Wait. What is the weather outside right now?
The weather is beautiful. I'm at Maryland, and
okay. You hear? Okay, you're a real person. You heard the weather. Okay, what I'm asking you in the Twitter files, okay, for the New York Post story, what was the reference that was ever made to government pressure?
The fact was that people that we're supposed to trust to protect us lied on a letter.
Do you acknowledge that you just wait? Do you understand the question I'm asking you?
Okay, repeat. I'm sorry.
I'm just asking you in the New York Post story that was censored for a day on Twitter. When the Twitter files came out, and we saw those email deliberations. They didn't make any reference at all to any kind of government intrusion at all, right?
Of course, because when somebody lies, they keep it as a secret to fool the useful fools.
Wait. So do you think
they're getting good information?
So then are you saying that when Twitter was deliberating internally about what to do with the story, they were lying to themselves?
I'm not blaming Jack Dorsey, but am I living in delusion, or did Mark Zuckerberg?
Wait, I can't. Why are you bringing it? Wait, stop! I can't tell if you're. I truly right now I don't know if you're like schizophrenic. Okay, I'm just trying to have a very
faster than the next person, and I'm very grounded.
I'm asking you. Yeah. No. It's not about slowing down. Okay, it's about jumping to totally disconnected topics. Okay, like you're having an episode. All right.
No, I'm not having an episode. Okay, I'm smarter than that.
Okay. Wait, that's fine. Okay, you can't outsmart schizophrenia.
I won't be manipulated.
Okay, I'm not manipulating you. I'm asking you really simple questions. Okay.
All right, I'll listen.
Yeah. Okay. It's not okay. It's just a very simple question. Okay. In the Twitter files, then the emails leaked. Okay, or they came out because of the investigations by Taibbi.
No, they came out because this guy by the name of Elon Musk spent $42 million to show the corruptness.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. Okay, but
no, wait, that's not fine.
No, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. You're having an episode.
That's the only reason we know. And don't talk down to me.
I'm asking you very simply.
I could just get out of this.
I'm asking you very simply. I'm asking you so simply. In the emails that leaked, there were no references whatsoever to government pressure.
Absolutely not. And you know what? Here, can you give me?
No, you're about to ramble again. No, wait. Can you give me an example? What was the government pressure that they mentioned when it came to the New York Post story?
Actually told X, or in this case Twitter and Facebook, who they should censor and shadow ban and complete individuals.
You know that Matt Taibbi himself, I'm pretty sure we can maybe even still find the tweets. Matt Taibbi himself said that there was not a single reference in the New York Post story about them ever saying that the government pressured them to do it. I think there might even be, somebody can find the tweet. I think there's a specific tweet where he says that, right?
Yes.
I don't live in delusion. I put together pieces of a puzzle.
Wait, why are
and
you
gonna
rambling
sit
again
here
right now?
and
Wait,
tell
why
me
are you
that
rambling?
Mark
You're having an episode. I'm
Mark
not talking about Mark Zuckerberg.
didn't
I'm not talking about
write a
Zuckerberg.
letter.
I'm not talking about
I'm
Zuckerberg.
not rambling.
You are having an
I'm not
episode.
rambling.
You're having an
Are you gonna
episode.
listen to me?
You're having an episode. You're having
Are
an
you
episode.
gonna
You can't
listen to
follow.
me?
No, I'm not listening to you right now. You're
Okay, well,
having.
then screw you, because
Okay.
you don't want
All
the
right.
truth come out.
Goodbye.
You don't
Good
want
luck.
the truth to come out.
It's not. It's just I can't. I don't know if you're legitimately schizophrenic, sir. I'm sorry.
You just
I don't know.
can't think as fast
Hey,
as
hey,
me.
It's not about
I'm
thinking
sorry
fast.
you
It's that
can't
I think
think
you.
as
I don't know
fast
if you're
as me.
experiencing mental illness or if this is deliberate propaganda or if you're an
You
AI.
can't think as fast as me. Now, can you let me?
So I found the tweet by Tahibi, if you want me
I
to
removed the dude. Sorry, but you can link the tweet if you want.
So,
Yeah.
so number 22 in the thread was, although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been
The problem. Yeah.
Oof. Crazy.
That's the guy that, by the way, just to be clear, that guy who was not answering Stephen's questions, that's the guy he's citing. The guy he's citing and saying it's a problem they weren't more involved, because what they are asking for absurdly, and it's a total double standard whenever it's on the other shoe, is for the FBI to like comment on the authenticity of purported leaks, which they didn't even have access to that hard drive. They had a different laptop. So yes, completely wrong, completely fake news you just heard. But Matt, sorry you've been waiting so long. Do you have any thoughts on this or any other domestic policy? That was, I know it seemed kind of in the weeds, but it was about free speech was the general thing there. So do you have any thoughts, Matt?
What's up? Thanks, bro. Destiny, for letting me speak. I know I'm a small account. Yeah, I can understand people getting nervous, like 10,000 people in here or something like that. No, what I wanted to do is not actually have an argument with you all. I wanted to make a point of economics. So I want to go to the economics, right, and keep it apolitical. So what I want to talk about is Kamala Harris, specifically on the corporate tax rate or tax rates in general for wealthier people, right? And we know the law of diminishing returns, right? That's mathematics, that's science, that's not something that's like debatable. So if we know in the law of diminishing returns, increasing, federal taxes on capital gains, on other things, is actually going to reduce federal revenue and reduce spending for social programs or whatever you want, what is the real ideological reason behind raising the corporate tax rate? Do you guys think that raising the corporate tax with Kamala's tax proposals isn't going to reach the diminishing returns? Or do you think it's going to bring it closer to the efficiency?
They're not even Bitcoin.
I don't know. Yeah. So my response to that is I think that there is a point at which, taxation might burden or lessen government revenues or government flows. But my intuition is raising taxes increases government revenue. And maybe there's a point at which that stops, but you're going to have to demonstrate, I think the burden's going to be on you, that this tax is going to be incredibly inefficient or it's going to reduce government revenues. And I could throw the same thing back at you. I think Stephen would, is if that's the case, then why would we have any expectation that Trump's tariffs, I don't hear you arguing for Trump's tariffs, and so maybe you're against them. But if you were to argue in favor of Trump's tax policy, he is arguing for increases in taxes. Sometimes 20%, sometimes more than that. Sometimes he's going to increase tariffs by 1,000%, which would be like something like 100% whatever tariff. So my response is, I think it's your burden to show that these taxes are going to decrease government revenues, and I think that to the extent that they would, or to the extent that you have it, it's like your intuition. Shouldn't that intuition also apply to the taxes that Trump is proposing?
Yeah, my response to that was, well, like I said, I didn't want to get to like, a debate or an argument. I kind of wanted to have a discussion. I feel like those are more productive. With the tariffs, I feel like, yeah, because I come from an objectivist point of view, and, the libertarian philosophy, understand that. They are also against the tariffs as well, by the way.
Got it.
They see it as a tax. I see it as a necessary protection to America because of the world we live in. So, we live in a globalized economy. And when you live in a globalized economy, your country itself can't operate like laissez-faire capitalism. You have to have.
Hold on, I'm sorry, real quick. Who's the random speaker? I can't tell because this interface sucks. Somebody's like randomly like.
I removed him.
Oh, okay, yeah. Only have one speaker on at a time or mute people. Yeah. Okay, sorry, yeah. Or you can just mute them too. You don't have to go. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
No, you're good. That was my.
What's going on with that bet?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving me the time, by the way. So yeah,
Yep.
I simply see that some external market forces are applied on the U.S. So I believe some of what Trump's policies are doing with the tariffs and are sort of like a bluff or like a control. Is he really going to put a 200% tariff on, cars made in the EU? Probably not. But that's how Trump negotiates. That's how he gets his deals. If you'll notice, he bluffs with a really high leverage or with like a really high penalty of things. That's like how he gets his deal done, in the art of the deal. But aside from that, no, I don't feel like the tariffs are such a bad idea when you're incentivizing, manufacturers to move in America and produce in America. So I agree
Okay.
with his policy on the. I know I'm rambling a little bit,
No,
but
you're not rambling.
I'll
You're fine.
finish
No,
with I agree with the 15% tax rate to incentivize manufacturing. I think we can all agree that that would incentivize manufacturing, and I think we can all agree there is a point of diminishing returns for the taxes on corporates. And I think some tariffs are required because I'll close with this: we have for European imports, we put a 2.5% tariff on their cars. They have, I think, a 10% tariff on our auto imports. I think that's what Trump is mostly referring to. Thank you.
Wait. Don't. Are you still here?
He's still here, I think.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll let you
Just
go,
as
though.
okay, I just want to do a real quick thing. I just questions on manufacturing. Okay. When it comes to manufacturing, do you think it would be good or bad if every part of our? Are you familiar with the term supply chain?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like all the different parts that are made to reach like the final product, right? Do you think it would be good or bad if all of the supply chains for U.S. manufactured goods, if all of those were within the United States? Do you think it would make the country better or worse?
It'd be impossible, in economics, there's specialization. So obviously we'd still need to import, you can't just export everything, right?
Well, no, but I'm asking, but let's say theoretically we could bring all of the, we could bring all of the, and you could import like final products still, right? But let's say we brought all of the base manufacturing back to the United States. We found a way to do that instead of importing so much stuff for other like final level manufacturing. Would this be better or worse for the United States, do you think?
I think long term it would be better because it would keep our economy stable long term, even though in the short term it might be the prices might go up possibly. But I think long term it's more stable. Whereas right now, if you look at jobs or job growth, it's all service, it's medical industry. And I do think that America needs to increase its exports and base manufacturing. It will also help with, the problem with colleges, obviously.
Sure.
Too,
So
not everybody can be like,
I got you. Okay, I got you. Okay, so real quick, okay. We are basically at full employment in the United States, and that everybody has a job to work, right? Why would we want to unemploy people that are more specialized to go back to making baser components? Why would that be a good thing? Assuming we have a limited amount of people, which we do because we don't have infinite people, right?
Right. Can you give like a real world example, like a layman example?
Yeah.
Of
So
that,
in the United
just
States of
kinda
America, yeah. So right now, okay. So I am a streamer. Okay. So I guess I export entertainment. Maybe that's not the best example. Let's do like a computer programmer. In the United States, we have computer programmers. Okay, that put together code. And we export things like IT services and everything across the world. Okay, super in-demand thing, huge part of our export market, huge part of our domestic market. Part of the reason why people can work those jobs is because we don't have to, mine the raw material, create the base materials, create base components, assemble base components, add those onto slightly intermediate opponent, right? All of that is done overseas. And then so when the products get to us, we're just like this final level of manufacturing, and it allows us to specialize into more productive labor. Why would we want to take away from our productive labor markets and then throw them at the least productive types of manufacturing jobs?
I really like that point. I'm very impressed. That's a really, really good point. I don't have a counter to that right now because you're absolutely right. And that's why I always make the argument that technology, people say it takes away jobs, but you're right. It frees up people to do other things, other specializations, right? Because if we were hunter-gatherers, you couldn't do paint, you couldn't do other stuff, right? So I get your point. That is a very, very good point, and I'd have to collect my thoughts on that to get back to you. But I still think long-term, splitting that up just a little bit, and having more CNC machinists, more steel production, things like that, more automobile manufacturing, making that more efficient long term would still give us a little bit more stability, especially if like we went to war. But to counter your exact point, that would be really hard to do. Just to be honest with you, you made a really, really, really good point. By the way,
I think that's
and also
one of the
real quick,
reasons-
just as a real quick, like a quick cap on that, right? So when you talk about things like going to war and security, I agree that you can probably make arguments for like strategic or national defense or national security tariffs. I think that there might be an argument there, right? However, we wouldn't expect to gain from that. Say, economically, right? We'd be making a bit of a sacrifice. For my house, if I want to go into my house and I want to put a lock on the door, it's a little bit less convenient for me to get inside, but I wouldn't put the lock on saying, wow, I can get into my house so much faster. I put the lock on and go, yeah, it's a little bit more inconvenient, but it's for security reasons, right? Yeah. I think that when people talk about bringing manufacturing back to the United States, like we need all these base manufacturing jobs, we don't need those jobs. Like our unemployment is very low, and we need more productive jobs. We need people with like higher paying jobs. We're an incredibly educated workforce.
We do need those jobs.
I don't know why people want to bring back like base manufacturing to the United States and then like take away from other types of work we do that's just more productive and generates more income. Like that, it seems like it would just hurt us in every way. And I feel like people don't think about that enough or pay enough attention to that, I would say. But okay.
Maybe
That's a
more
good
good
point,
jobs. We'll
and
get the zombies off the streets and into one of them.
Get the what?
What'd you say?
Bro, what?
Who said that? I didn't hear who said that, but anyway,
I don't
Matt.
like
No,
interruptions.
Yeah,
I
so
know a lot of people are waiting, but yeah, that's a good point, Destiny. And I would say when you say base manufacturing, I think what you mean is, how low do you want to go on the technological scale, right? There are very complex manufacturing processes that I do think the U.S. could bring back here that aren't necessarily like base manufacturing, right? There are advanced CNC machinery is one of the strong suits of America, right? Because you have to operate the CNC machinery, and that does take a lot of education. So we can specialize in manufacturing that may be more advanced. But you're right.
Sure. Yeah.
You do need a good balance. We can't just be like, oh yeah, we're just going to produce all the pencils and not import any pencils. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that's a good point. And just to be clear, I agree with Destiny that there could be some argument for targeted
national security.
Yeah, 100%. I think that one of the lessons that we learned, and I think honestly, it's something good that Trump did. Like Trump made us be a little bit more skeptical of. I don't think we should be totally skeptical of neoliberalism and the benefits of comparative advantage, that kind of thing. But I think that I'm man enough to admit when Trump is like directionally correct in some particular point, I think it's fine for us to have some targeted tariffs. And I think that the Biden administration and Harris have shown that they're willing to acknowledge maybe some good ideas that Trump might have had in respect to targeted tariffs towards. And now I'm not going to speak about China, but because I don't really know about those particular tariffs, but I just want to echo Stephen's sentiment that it seems like there could be some room for targeted tariffs, but the across the board stuff, that doesn't seem to be a good reason to vote for Trump. I guess I'll ask you, Matt, to continue since I think this has been productive. Are you going to vote for Trump?
Yeah, I'm definitely voting for Trump just simply because my point, I believe in the economic policies that he has. And I know that is a deep rabbit hole because you'd have to go over each and every one. But I do like, the no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, having deductions for the automobile interest rates. Those types of things.
Do you pay the standard deduction for your taxes? When you file your taxes, do you take the standard deduction?
Yeah, and I have an LLC, so I have those deductions as well.
Yeah, why would you personally benefit from like an auto itemized? You would benefit from that, right? Or sorry, you would not benefit from that.
My income is not high. I personally would not benefit from that,
right?
But I know a lot of people would, and I know taking away. Hold on a second. I feel like that approach is much better than giving people stimulus to buy cars. You see what I'm saying? Because that would directly influence the supply and demand a lot more than it would if you say, oh, we're just going to let you deduct, the interest that you're paying or a certain percentage amount. You're basically taking away some of the taxation, some of the tax burden. It's like you're relieving the tax burden rather than giving. You're removing stuff that the government is implementing. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like,
but if most people are taking the standard deduction, like how many poor people, working class people are going to be benefited from that?
That's a broader discussion when you're talking about how, taxes on certain classes of people benefit the lower classes. But specifically, I just think in a vacuum, it's a good policy. And I'll relate it to something else if we want to go to housing. I think if you could deduct a percentage of, the interest of your mortgage, that would be better than Kamala's policy of trying to give you a stimulus to bid up the prices of the house with, the FHA loans specifically. So we could use that as an example if you want. And that
but is Trump proposing what you're suggesting? Is Trump proposing?
No, I don't think he is proposing that. I'm just using that as kind of like a.
So what I'm hearing is the first thing that came to your mind are like the no taxes on tips. That's number one. No taxes on Social Security payments. Is that correct?
Yeah. Doesn't Social Security, if you have a certain amount, doesn't it have taxation with it?
I actually don't know the answer. If for
Social Security tax and FICA, there's two halves that you pay. You pay Social Security and you pay Medicare. The Social Security caps at around, I want to say it's $136,000 right now of income.
No, but I mean to say is when you get your Social Security check, is that counted as income?
Yes, you do pay taxes on your Social Security benefits as well. Yeah.
So do we agree with that? I saw Stephen. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. Do you agree with the no tax on tips? Because just to be clear, Kamala Harris, that's her policy too. And so you would agree also, by the way, Matt, that it wouldn't be a basis to distinguish Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and the taxes on tips thing, right? Because they have the same policy?
Yeah, I would say they're the same on that. I would say the biggest thing is that Kamala's strategy seems to be, more towards the price controls and injecting things like the stimulus rather than, and in Trump's strategy seems to be more taking away government burden on taxation. And whereas, some people who support Kamala will say, hey, that only benefits people of a certain income. But to me, that doesn't skew the market as much because sometimes, I was in real estate for a while. Let's say the FHA thing. Sorry, we're kind of getting off track. But let's say, everyone can bid up the price. FHA loans are considered last out of all of the, bids. So like when you put an offer in a house. So if more people are bidding on the house prices go up. The only people who are the middle class and lower class aren't going to benefit from the stimulus because the people who can afford cash offers are going to be able to put the cash offer in, and the house is going to get bid up outside of the range of the
isn't one of the nice things about with the
housing boom?
Isn't one of the nice things about FHA loans the fact that you can buy these with like 3% or 0% down?
Yeah, it has a very low percentage down, but when you're putting offers on the house, the owners always look at cash first and then conventional loans because they're less likely to fall through.
Yeah, I understand, but like there's nothing you can do to bid against like conventional. Or I'm sorry. There's nothing you can do if somebody's making cash offers, you're probably always fucked, right? Like there's no way you can if you've got to get a loan. There's probably not much you could do to outbid that person, right?
Usually no. Usually cash is king, and it's not really cash, but you know what I'm saying. It's like full payment.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like some of these policies are a little marginal. Like I have to go back to it. The auto loan deduction seems like that's not like a huge.
Or actually, let me be more specific on this. Fuck, I just want to fight on everything. But like what Pisco's saying is more true than I think he even realizes. So like the car thing, the auto loan thing, that will affect. My guess is like 0% of the market or maybe 0.1% of the market, right? One of the things that Donald Trump did that I guess I kind of like, because it simplifies shit, is he doubled the size of the standard deduction, which means that more people than ever now are taking the standard deduction. And for people that don't know, that means that when you go to fill out your taxes, your deduction is how much money you're taking away from your taxable income. And with the Donald Trump tax plan, he made it so that the standard deduction is pretty huge now. Very few people actually itemize their tax returns. I think the number right now is around 10% of people. And so this proposal of being able to deduct the interest that you pay on a car loan from your taxes would only apply to the 10% of people who itemize, who are already probably incredibly wealthy. And then two, the amount of money you're saving is just going to be like, let's say that you spend $10,000 a year paying off a car loan, which is like, what, $800 a month in payments? Let's say that $500 a month of that is in interest or something, right? So you have $6,000 less of taxable income at the end of the year when you're already making like a huge income. I just don't think this is impacting anything on the car loan thing. That was the first thing on the car loan thing. The tips thing, I think, is also probably not that relevant.
Wash and Kamala supports it.
Yeah, I think no tax on tips is dumb, but the reality is probably most people that work tip positions, I don't even know how much federal income tax these people are paying. I'm pretty sure that like half the American workforce, by the time all of the deductions and everything roll out, like don't even have like a federal tax liability. Like it's basically nothing anyway, which is why usually credits are nicer, especially refundable credits, meaning if you're credited back more than what you actually paid in taxes, then the government cuts you a check. Like for the earned income tax credit, that's a refundable one, and for the child tax credit, that's a refundable one. These things tend to help working class people more. I don't know if the tax deduction on tips or the elimination, I don't know if that would help much because I don't even know how much in federal taxes people pay.
Very good points. Yeah, I did. Most people did, growing up working in the service industry. I will say that a lot of people, they prefer to get their tips in cash and underreport the tips, obviously. But there are jobs where, gratuity is added in on the bill. Higher end, like if you're working in higher end restaurants, obviously you get the gratuity automatically added in. And at the end of the day, when people pay with credit cards, all that stuff, gets taxed. So it can be a burden. But like you said, a lot of these policies are, I'll give you that, they are marginal. It's not going to make someone rich if they're a waitress or something and they get no tax on tips. But it is something that helps out, and it's kind of removing government out of the equation. And I think anytime you do that, it's good for everybody. So that's just my point. I mean, don't you think it's good, or would you agree it's good to get government out of some of the places where working class people are making money?
So here's the thing. I think that there are ways to help working class people that are substantial. And I think there are ways to help working class people where like really rich people are kind of like wink, wink, nod, nodding because a working class person is getting duped or tricked. And in reality, they're just getting fucked. Like if there's a server making $35,000, $40,000 a year, and now somebody has said, hey, we're not going to tax your tips anymore. This person, it might be like jumping up and down with joy. But the reality is by the time they filed their taxes and everything else, they probably had almost no tax liability anyway. They're not actually saving any money. Now, because of how they fill out their, it's been so long, I think it's a Form W-9, because of how they have their withholding set up, they might feel like they're paying taxes because some of it's automatically withheld from their paycheck. But when tax season rolls around, they get all the money back.
They're going to get a check.
Yeah, because you're not making enough money to have a significant tax liability or any tax liability federally. I think the bottom 50% of earners in this country don't pay any federal taxes. So if I'm a rich person and the choice is between the government coming to me for money to help out other Americans or just giving them more quote unquote tax breaks, I'm always going to say, if I'm greedy, I'm going to say, we'll give them more tax breaks because I know at the end of the day, they're not saving fuck all for more money anyway. It's not really helping them at all. And nothing comes out of my pocket now. So I feel like it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help working class people at the end of the day. Like the federal tax liability, I don't think it's anywhere near as significant as like expenditures for childcare or health insurance. Like that stuff is what like destroys.
And if you know any
paycheck.
servers in your life or bartenders, if they're getting cash tips, a lot of times they're not reporting it. Just being real.
Sure, although I
Just
would say in
being
today's
100%.
market, it's probably more common that people are getting credit card tips, which go through the POS, which like
True.
automatically get
Yeah,
dinged.
but I remember I used to work in restaurants. I used to bartend. There were a lot of people who there's just no chance that the whatever $100 that they got in tips were being reported.
Sure.
Maybe it's just cash. Yeah. But no, it's a good point, Stephen. Yeah, we're going to move on in a second, Matt. But I would like to stress that I think that what Kamala is proposing, at least on the supply side of housing, in just building more houses, that seems like it's going to have a genuine impact on people who are suffering in the housing market. And the second policy, I guess I'll get you to respond to, is you mentioned like the price control stuff. You didn't like it, and you just mentioned it to Stephen. Wouldn't you want government to get out of certain markets and certain areas? I think it depends on what we're talking about. But with respect to drug prices, for example, one thing that's been very popular that both people seem to be trying to take credit for is capping prices on certain drugs like insulin. It seems like Trump is suggesting that, trying to take credit for that. That's a price control in some measure. Are you against that? And why? Or I guess like, what's your take on what I just said? I guess.
Oh yeah, when it comes to the medical field, the medical industry, and the economics of drug prices, pharmaceuticals, that is I mean, like you could study for years to get into that. That is a whole like string of things to unwind. I'm not even going to get into that too.
Okay.
That you know what I'm saying? Like that's a whole other macro economy on a huge scale because you have the FDA, you go down to hospitals, doctors, the pharmaceutical companies, I mean, there's so many variables in that I haven't even really studied on the drug prices a lot. but it's a very complex system, as you guys know. That is like way too much to get into.
Okay.
On this space in that quick amount of time.
Well, thank you for sharing.
So I don't
I would
have an opinion on that part.
Yeah, no. Thank you for sharing, and I would encourage you. I think that some of the proposals that you're championing from Trump are a little bit more marginal, a little bit more minor, and that other things should be carrying the day in terms of why who gets your vote in economics. But thank you very much for being a voice here. Eric Clark, J6 Anon, child of God, patriot, Marine, father and grandfather. Do you have any thoughts? You're muted currently. Just a heads up. Okay. If not, we'll go to Angry Citizen. Or yeah, I don't see any more, Eric Clark. Sorry. Angry Citizen. You are with us. It says that you're. Oh wait, are you Canadian?
I'm
American
a dual
Canadian.
citizen.
Oh, okay, awesome, perfect.
Yeah.
So you fit. So tell us your thoughts.
So my main question was how to say this right. So my parents, they have a big business and they pay their employees through one payroll. They have all their money goes through one account, which is their personal account. So in the situation where Kamala gains the presidency and they start taxing her for that, she looks like a millionaire on paper, but she actually has like 17 employees to pay with $1 million. So after they're maybe, they make maybe $70,000 a year as a salary, they're not millionaires, but they'll be taxed as is. And another problem.
Wait, real quick, just one thing at a time.
Yep.
Shouldn't they be writing off the payments that they're making to other people so that that wouldn't be part of their like taxable income?
From what I've seen on paper, it costs them about $100 an hour to pay somebody $20 an hour. So like all the administrative fees, the accounting fees, it costs somebody almost $100 an hour to pay an employee.
Did you hear what Stephen asked?
Even with write-offs, it's very expensive because you have to pay for everything, insurance and all that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, those are things that we could get into how the Democrats would want to offer like a single payer or public option health insurance, which would probably help more than almost anything else for small businesses. But I'm trying to figure out like for your parents, without getting into advice, because I would say having everything going through one account is a nightmare disaster, especially if they're paying 10 plus people. That's a problem that should have been fixed a long time ago. But assuming that they've got like a sole proprietorship or a single member LLC, some kind of like flow through entity or pass through entity, like if they're paying people a wage, they're not going to be taxed on the money that they're paying out wages for, right? That should be accounted for on their taxes, where they're saying like, hey, these are wages that I've paid out. You're either writing 1099s to people or whatever. So now you're not going to get taxed on that income.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. I do agree with that. Another problem though that I keep seeing come up is, let's say I bought my house for 66 grand pre-pandemic. I haven't upgraded a single thing. There's maybe even 4 holes here that are extra because I have 4 kids running around. My house is now worth $152,000. If I were taxed 25% unrealized gains, I couldn't pay that. I'd have to lose my house. I have 4 little tykes running around, and the house isn't more sophisticated.
So I agree real quick. I agree that would be bad, but I'm pretty sure that in any of the unrealized capital gains tax stuff they're talking about, these are for people that have like massive net worths. I don't think this is applying.
Like $100 million plus dollar.
So you think that it wouldn't affect my house? Like, let's say I gained $75,000 in value.
No,
it would not.
There's no way. It would destroy the entire U.S. economy. Would collapse in a microsecond if they were to try to do something like that. And they haven't said it. They've said it applies to only people with over 100 million in net worth. So.
Another question
you have nothing to worry about. So vote for Kamala, right?
Well, real quick, just another question I had. So we're seeing a lot of, I'd say, people that are non-citizens trying to vote. If that's a crime in America, are we setting a lot of people up to become, federal criminals in the near future? Let's say after the election, when people start counting and realizing, oh, wait, that's a crime. Are we going to have a wave of people just ending up in prison for something they did not know they couldn't do?
I don't think it's anywhere happening where non-citizens are being encouraged to vote in federal elections.
Okay. So you guys think that all that we're I know that what stands between a Republican and a Democrat is the algorithm most of the time and certain policies. So I'm trying to see, where I was maybe influenced by the algorithm to go towards the right. So I'm asking myself,
Mhm.
uh, why are we seeing such rhetoric that would change our policies? Because I used to be very liberal, very, very liberal, but on certain points the right comes and gets me, but I'm more pro tiny government, and that used to be democratic views, right? I used to be so far Democrat my parents would laugh at me and call me stupid.
I
and,
appreciate what you're saying. So sorry, I just want to address, because I don't want you to move on, because I think this is a really, really excellent point that you made. And just to be 1,000% clear about where I'm at, I have the MAGA Twitter stuff because I follow all these accounts and everything. I see so much Trump MAGA stuff, and so I understand why people could get the impression that there's a lot of undocumented people who are not registered, people who are not eligible to voting, and I can understand why you might be concerned based on what you're seeing, if that's kind of your algorithm. But the truth is, we haven't seen evidence of this occurring. Nobody is explicitly calling for non-citizens to break the law and vote in these elections. And the burden of proof is going to be on the people alleging that is happening to show it. Every time they try to, they fail epically. And so I have to tell you, it's not a problem. There's no evidence that it is a problem. And on the big government stuff, just to address that real quick, I would think that if you're afraid of big government, which I agree, there can be a lot of overreach, big governments I don't agree with. I think that sort of encouraging a Trump movement that wants to deport all 20 million people, I mean, that's going to be the most massive expansion of the government in the history of the world. You're going to have to, pay for trillions of dollars worth of additional police officers, immigration enforcement, judges, bureaucrats, and set up these big camps to house people while they're being deported, and have people do all these kinds of raids. It will be the most massive police state, most massive increase in the government infrastructure in the history of this country. So just on those 2 points, I don't know if you have a response.
I honestly do. I feel like history is repeating itself, and that we're heading towards, the scenarios we faced 80 something years ago. And I might not be the only person that agrees with this statement. And I know it might sound harsh, but I feel like everything we're seeing is just a repeat of what led to World War II. All these wars.
Well, hold on,
everything.
wait. Can I ask you to take a breath right now, okay? It sounds to me, just based on the little bit that I've heard from you, and maybe there are other things going on that I'm not aware of, but it sounds to me like right now you have like a pretty cool life. It sounds like, I think you said you had 4 children, you have a house that you've purchased, right? You're paying a mortgage on. Seems like you're doing generally okay, right?
Yep, and I'm afraid for the future a bit. With everything I'm seeing, I'm not sure what's real and what's a lie. It's hard to.
Well, okay. Well, so like, here's a question. So here's a question. Okay, right? Do you mind me asking your age, or?
I'm 28, man.
You're 28. Okay. So I won't bring up Obama, but looking under Biden, right? The Republicans said that Biden was going to bring like communism, socialism, destroy the country. It seems like none of that has happened, right?
It does seem like that, yes.
Okay. And
everything
I think,
just kept happening, like it usually does.
Yeah. The stock market is doing insanely. I don't know if you have like a 401k or any type of thing like that. It sounds like the price of your house is up despite how tumultuous the markets have been. So it seems like things are going pretty well for you. They have gone pretty well under Biden. So this like fear mongering and the doomering among the future, and that everything is like going crazy and the country's on the verge of collapse. I feel like sometimes the Republicans play that up a bit. You have this also. I know I'm not going to be able to change your entire idea about this right now, but you said before that you're pro tiny government, right? I feel like in a world, so you're contributing right now to arguably one of the most important things that a person can contribute to in a country, which is like having kids to make more population, okay? But in doing so, you are destroying a lot of the productive parts right now of your life, right? I imagine if you guys said you have 4 kids, you're either spending a whole bunch of money on childcare. You probably have to have somebody that either stays home full time, or right, or you're paying, like a ton of in like babysitting or daycare, or whatever, right? So you're making like really
All
big,
three.
yeah, okay, yeah. So you're making really big sacrifices right now in your life to take care of 4 kids, and that doesn't even include the cost of everything else, right? Like diapers, food, hospital bills, everything else, right? If it is the case that you're doing that, is it not okay for you, who's making this big sacrifice that ultimately will benefit our nation, because ideally your kids will grow up, they'll become taxpayers, and they can pay, everything back to the country? Wouldn't it be okay for somebody like you to have assistance from the government to say like, hey, maybe a millionaire dude who's making money off of employees can pay some money to the federal government that comes back to you in the form of like the child tax credit, or that helps to subsidize like the schooling for your children, or maybe even pays for things like free meals, or subsidizes like childcare costs or healthcare costs? Like, isn't that a fair trade? Like, if I'm an employer who's like running big businesses, I need people like you to have kids and fill the country with more people so that I can employ them in the future. Like, isn't that like an equitable trade? Don't we feel like that's okay?
Well, I see it that way. It's helping the poor people reach a higher spot. But for people that already, like, let's say I have a landscaping company and I teach on Udemy, so I do have a good income. And I don't want that to go to someone else, for the simple fact that I already have four kids to feed, and they do count as a huge discount. When I do my taxes, I have 5 dependents because the wife's a stay-at-home mom, and I got the 4 kids, so that's a huge discount. But I still end up paying some of the money that I could have used, let's say, to renovate this house. And I'm kind of afraid that the government overreach and getting bigger, and what Kamala has in mind, I think, like I heard, they're going to hire another 20,000 more IRS employees. And those are the things that stress me out. We're thinning out the amount of money, and we're causing inflation.
Well, so real
yes,
quick, so what is if you mind me asking, like what is your AGI? How much money do you make at the end of the year that you're just like, or I'm sorry, what's your profit at the end of the year that you take home personally?
I have a kind of profitable business because I just grow plants and sell them. So, it's straight up profit. So I take home about 100,000 with a price cost of maybe 14,000. So around 86 grand.
Okay. So if you're taking home 86 grand, my guess is with 5 dependents, you're probably not paying much in taxes at the end of the year. With the expansion of the child tax credit, I don't know if you would get all of it back, but there's probably like a huge amount of money that you're getting back in taxes.
Yeah. Lately, I've only been paying $2,600 per year about. I used to pay a lot more, I'll be honest with you.
Wait. So your tax liability was only $2,600 last year?
Yeah, with 5 dependents, it goes down.
So then why? So
you would be benefited.
Why are you worried about like additional like IRS agents or? It seems like you're probably like doing decently fine. Your tax footprint is already incredibly small. Isn't it good to help the other people so you have like customers to sell to, so that other people can like do stuff in society?
I do understand. You're talking about the chain of, like, let's say we help an addict get better. He finds a job, he pays for stuff. And I do agree with that 100%. But while we're helping so many people, we're causing inflation. So we're 20 years down the line, it's going to help our kids, yes. But for us, food's getting expensive. And I do love the fact that my house is now worth more. But how much of it is inflation? Because like I said, I didn't repair my house. How did it go from 66 to 155? I didn't do anything here.
Sure, but then I mean the question would be then, if you're worried about things like inflation, Donald Trump came in with a booming economy and all he did was spend a ton of money. All he's talking about is tariffing everybody, which would make things cost more. And then he's talking about pressuring the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, which would make like even more impression on. Yeah, like it feels like everything Donald Trump talks about would be contributing to inflation.
I understand, and I agree with you that in the short term, I think he's trying to make America prosper without allowing the world to prosper off of America. He wants to like isolate America. So there's 2 ways to see it. It's good in one way because it makes America rich, but it makes America alone, right? And that's bad. When it comes to certain other products, China might not.
I think that when we're exporting and importing, that makes us not alone. Isn't that good? You said your job is you sell plants or whatever to people?
Yep.
So I mean, like, I guess you're probably doing a pretty fundamental job. I don't know what all is involved in that. I can't make an analogy. Never mind. Go for it, Pisco.
Yeah, no, I see Lisa Graham in the speaker role. We're gonna jump to you in a second. I just want to say, angry citizen, I really do think that Kamala's economic policies are going to support you. I like people like you, people who are interested in getting like more benefits from the child tax credit. That's going to make your life easier. It's going to make you pay less. In addition, like I truly think that it's possible that you're going to be better off because of these IRS tax agents that you say you're scared of, because that's going to increase the amount of revenues that the government is obtaining. It's the same reason why we need to increase the amount of Border Patrol agents, and we need to increase, although not to the levels that we would need to have a 20 million person deportation, which you should be scared about, I think. But we also need to increase the number of like immigration judges, because in order to get these jobs done, right, in order to do the work of government, we need more people. It's a bigger country. And so I truly think that you should try to identify the policy that you fear the most from Kamala and come back to us and we'll talk about them, because I don't really think we have much to fear there. But let's I'll give you a word.
Can I just say something really
quick?
Yeah,
go ahead, Brian.
So like if you care about immigration, then the worst thing you should tariffs would be the worst thing, right? Because tariffs, it's going to take jobs from Mexico. These are companies that want to get cheap labor from Mexico, that are U.S. companies that would benefit from having those jobs in Mexico. If you put tariffs on those products coming in, those jobs are going to be lost in Mexico. There's less opportunity in Mexico. There's less opportunity in Honduras. There's less opportunity in Guatemala. That increases the incentive of these people to try and come here illegally. So tariffs are going to only exacerbate the immigration problem, especially if you consider all the other effects. Mexico will have less money. They're going to have less resources to combat the people coming through Mexico from Guatemala and Honduras. So just think about the long-term, bigger picture.
No, I totally appreciate that, Brian. I think it's a great point, and one that, frankly, I kind of undervalued. I didn't really think of tariffs as being a kind of pseudo immigration policy in a way, or affecting immigration, but I think that's super, super helpful.